Good day, and it's day 75 of the existence of the show Too Long Didn't Scroll, the show for you to get daily news updates without having to resort to scrolling through the endless abyss that your newsfeed might be. On platforms like YouTube, most podcast apps, Instagram, and TikTok, you can get your daily news fix quickly without hassle. The day of recording is April 4th of 2023, and let's find out what happened on this day. We start today's episode in the country of Syria, which has seen continuous ravaging ever since 2011 thanks to a nationwide civil war between factions aligned with the internationally recognized Syrian Arab Republic, like Russia and Iran, the Syrian interim government, the autonomous administration of north and east Syria by much of the Western world, and terrorist organizations like al-qaeda and the Islamic State, or ISIS, both of which have wreaked havoc on soldiers and civilians alike throughout the course of the war as they attempt to seize power and territory for themselves in the chaos. Raids and strikes on al-qaeda and ISIS bases are common, notably by Western countries like America, in attempts to rid them from the region. As of today, one such raid has occurred in the form of a likely drone strike and military raid on ISIS infrastructure in the country's northeastern regions. As a result of the strike, one of ISIS's senior leaders in the region, Khalid Ahmad al-jabouri, was killed. Al-jabouri was allegedly, according to American forces who initiated the drone strike, planning for the terrorist group to commit a series of terrorist attacks across Europe the coming Easter weekend, and now claimed that ISIS's abilities to plan any such attacks have been limited for the time due to al-jabouri's death. Other news after the Syrian civil war as of the day of recording also include a new batch of Israeli drone strikes on the Syrian capital city of Damascus, which reportedly killed 2 civilians. Israeli forces often strike various locations across Syria with the expressive target being Iranian infrastructure, viewing Iranian presence in the country as a threat. Good news for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, has come today, as the intergovernmental organization dedicated to international security and cooperation has been enlarged for the first time since 2020. Some days ago, Finland's application to NATO was approved by every single NATO member nation, of which there are 30 others, allowing its application to ascend to the next stage. A string of nations applied to join NATO in February of last year after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, including Sweden, Finland, and Ukraine. Finland, as of the date of recording, has officially joined the alliance, though Sweden's and Ukraine's applications is still notably being held back, with the former by Turkey over some iffy relations concerning Sweden's supposed involvement in terrorist groups like the Kurdistan Workers' Party. Along the border between the countries of China and India, boundary disputes continue to remain a bitter issue, especially concerning past history concerning fatal military clashes, with a full-on war back in the 1960s and some military squabbles as recent as 2020 and 2021. Both countries have used a variety of tactics to claim regions along the border, mainly the region that is either called Zangnan by China or Arunchal Pradesh by India. It all depends on who you ask. Tactics like military involvement, road construction, and the like have been used. As of today, China has attempted a new tactic to cement its grip over the region, with its Ministry of Civil Affairs announcing the full standardization of 11 locale names in the region into Mandarin Chinese, hoping that these new Chinese names will help showcase the legitimacy of Chinese authority over the region. India has rejected such a move, stating that Arunachal Pradesh will still remain an integral part of the country. In the South American nation of Peru, protests still rage on nationwide over the continued incarceration of former left-wing President Pedro Castillo, who back in December 2022 was accused of stating a quote-unquote self-coup through dissolving the country's Congress and establishing his own emergency government. It was promptly voted on to remove him from office and have him arrested for constitutional violations. His government was replaced by that of Dina Boularte. The protests erupted across the country involving his supporters advocating for his release and the stepping down of Boularte's government. Many of the protests have turned violent, with a reported over 70 deaths having occurred, including many civilians, police officers, and soldiers. Despite this, Boularte's government is likely to remain in power for the time being, since as of the day of recording, the country's Congress has rejected an impeachment hearing for Boularte, saying that such a proposal at the current time is quote-unquote not prudent, according to supporters of its rejection. In other news, in former American President Donald Trump's indictment hearing over criminal charges concerning him making quote-unquote hush payments during his 2016 campaign, Trump has continued to plead not guilty in his arraignment hearing. Satellite launch provider company Virgin Orbit has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and laid off 85% of its employees. A double train derailment in Voorschoten in the Netherlands has killed 1 person and injured 50 others, and the United Kingdom's Information Commissioner's Office has fined popular Chinese social media app TikTok £12.7 million over failing to protect the privacy of children and misuse of minors' data. It is one of the largest fines the ICO has ever issued, even after it was reduced.